So, the game's done. I lost. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Full series is in a playlist on the channel. Should be by the time this goes out, at least. That would be pretty bad. Scheduling and spoilers. But I've got some ramblings to do. A classic of the channel. Especially on Civ. Me and my tier lists go way back. I've actually jotted down some notes, though, because I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to make the video unnecessarily long. But yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind is just purely how many times this playthrough, that I called Catherine Russia. Obviously, when the modern age came around, that was less inaccurate. Finally, Catherine was Russia, and in the Antiquity Age, not a problem, hadn't met them. I think through the entire Exploration Age, where they were Bulgaria, I was calling them Russia. Now, I haven't had an issue with Civ Switching, really. It's not been a problem for me. I haven't cared too much about myself Civ Switching. But I realise in playing this game and looking back on other games, especially now that I'm running a hot seat game, yes, with myself I am sad and lonely, but no, for real, it helps me learn the civs and their abilities. That's how I always played Civ 5 and 6, and then actually got really quite good at the game and had favourite civs, but especially with Civ 7 at the moment, I haven't even got through all the leaders in single player games. I've gone through all the civs at least twice, I think, in every age, but then a new one's added every 5 seconds. But I haven't got through the leaders. I'd only been playing the base game leaders, because I was going for the 100% achievements. Obviously, Benjamin Franklin is yet to be conquered. Still escapes me from this recent game. But yeah, I play that way so I can learn the leaders and the civs and their abilities, and maybe I will go on to make a tier list with this added exposure to the game, because I think I've put in 100 hours into the game since the first episode, since recording that first episode. Which is kind of mad considering I only had 300 total in the last year. But now, in this most recent game, playing against the AI and in the hot seat, I'm kind of seeing the problem more, that it's not so much I'm concerned about who I'm playing in Civ Switching. I don't have a problem with that. I actually really enjoy the system. I think it's quite cool. Sure, they've put syncretism in, that's wonderful, but I'm, based on that other game I had, not interested at all. I thought it was awful. Not that the system's awful. If you want to play that way, awesome for you, but to have one kind of okay flat bonus, and I probably picked the worst one in promoting tall play, which was the whole reason I decided to do this playthrough, really. The loss because I was tall. Or so I thought, because it didn't work here either. I'm already losing focus. So, yeah, the syncretism that gives you one unique unit, okay, sure, you shouldn't have more than one unique unit, or a unique building, I think is really difficult to work with. It's like, okay, am I deciding that I'm weak at this game to military attack because I have no unique units? Or am I deciding I have a better military this game but less infrastructure, which now impacts yields and production and all that stuff, which is useful, but it also impacts culture, because these unique buildings and improvements give culture. So yeah, I don't think syncretism's really my thing, but that's okay. I didn't have a massive problem with the Civ switching, but now I go through a game and I'm seeing, in this game's case, I see Catherine, who I've always associated with Russia. What would it be in Civ 5? I think Catherine led Russia. There's that just direct connection that I'm like, oh, okay, there we go, Catherine's Russia. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, they're actually Bulgaria. Hang on, let me check Bulgaria's abilities and see what they do. Oh, okay, Bulgaria does this, and Catherine does this. Obviously, Catherine's bonuses stay, but then I go into the next stage, yes, they're Russia, but it's like, oh, okay, they're doing a whole nother thing now. So every AI that's in a game, I then look at, I mean, the game I have going at the moment, it's like... most of it's thematic, but I have what example can I have? I the Greek AI became Iceland, and I'm like, okay, Greece, I kind of know, like, historically and through Civ in the past. No, I don't know the exact benefits off the top of my head, but they have the unique building, they're going to be good at culture and diplomacy, and they have hoplites. Like, that is easy to remember. And then suddenly they switch to Iceland, and yeah, again, off the top of my head, I can be like, okay, cool, they have boats and exploration, but it's like, what are they actually doing? What's their game plan? So the same kind of came about versus Catherine, because I was very much expecting, and was being absolutely dominated by a science culture game, and I was like, oh yeah, that's just Russia, that's what they do. And then I'm like, oh, hang on. This is Bulgaria, who I've just entered a war with. They are incredibly terrifying, oh dear god. So yeah, it kills a bit of immersion. To suddenly, you change the age over, and there's all sorts of new things to learn. Everyone has had a sudden overnight change. Let me clue up on what my enemies do and don't do. So yeah, that was just a recurring problem across the game. Right, I need to follow my notes. So the next thing, the UI still feels weird. They've changed the resource screen, and I think visually the resource screen is better. However, it just kind of... either it's built badly, or it doesn't work, because the amount of times I was jumping all over the place, I think it was when I was taking things out of a city, or trying to put them in, if I'd scrolled down the list, it would suddenly, like, snap me back to the top, which is really kind of jarring. Fortunately, that was a shorter point. This might just be a me problem. I would love there to be a reminder about deals ending. I was playing Benjamin Franklin, whose kind of whole thing is endeavors. He gets so much bonus from endeavors, and I couldn't remember. There was so much going on in that game, besides the fact that I was like talking out loud about what I was doing, which isn't something I do when I play Civ. Not saying that's an excuse for me to play worse, but it's an excuse for me to forget things, and it just didn't stick in my head. So, like, it wouldn't be too difficult, considering you've got these, like, there didn't used to be in, say, Civ 5 and 6, a pop-up, an alert for a competing wonder. You had to go and search that stuff out yourself. But Civ 7 has put that in. Maybe that's on their part saying, like, okay, there's a lot of overwhelming information in this game. But, like, when I think of, like, the lack of, like, a loyalty system, and climate change, and fossil fuels, and diverse religion that, like, has been lost from Civ 6, for example, I'm like, okay, it's not too overwhelming, but if they can put it in for wonders, then they can put in for endeavors. I don't know why I'm just less locked in to Civ 7. Maybe that's just entertainment and time spent with the game, but, you know, it is what it is in that sense, I guess. So yeah, I think a little reminder about, like, your deal's ended this turn with this person would be great. Unless that's what the purple flags are telling me and I'm an imbecile and I've been skipping them every time and this is a moot point. Anyway, moving on. Specialists are weird. I can't remember exactly when it came in episode. I think it was mid-game, like Exploration Age. Because I was well over settlement limit for Exploration Age, so it makes the most sense for it to have happened here. So I was really struggling to manage my happiness, and I was balancing my resources and building buildings and trying to keep on top of it. It may have been modern or exploration, definitely wasn't antiquity. But I got a city growth event while I was managing happiness and like trying to keep my empire together. And it was in the capital, or the old capital, I think. And I knew I'd used all the improvements. And so I knew I had to assign a specialist. And in assigning a specialist, I took a happiness tank, and my city went unhappy. Now, obviously, this is post... this was pre the government and happiness rework, so maybe it's less of an issue. But if you get unhappy, your stuff gets burned. That's how the game has worked. Like, I shouldn't feel bad for... Not feel bad about, I guess, assigning specialists. They're meant to be powerful. I think the irony of them being called specialists at the moment, when they seem more like generalists because of all the policies you can get on them, where it's like, plus production gold, and I think that's both in the exploration and in the modern age, where it's plus production gold and food and science and culture and the cost of happiness and food, and then you can balance the happiness and food out with certain things. But it's so many stats. How is that specializing? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, there's a base stat for the building that they're applied to, but that's like not easy to follow, because the city design is a lot less obvious. I get the realism, but like obviously with the lack of colors coming into Civ 7, with science always being blue, military being red, production being orange, like it was so... It was a less realistic style. It was a cartoony style. I know people had issues with that, but I did love the Civ 7 style, the Civ 6 style. Whoa. So it just feels like these specialists, anyway, are just a very generalist, and I think a massive point of that is the loss of great people points and great people. Obviously, you have specific civs that can get great people, but there's no... Like, that was always an awesome mechanic, racing against an enemy to try and secure an amazing great person. Obviously, you couldn't really do that with generals and admirals anymore, because they do exist in the game. And you'd still want to give a significant boost to the civs that do have great people, but for not everyone to have them kind of sucks, and it takes away a lot of the core of what specialists were about. Sure, they were giving you a lump sum of science, but when I played Civ 6 and 5, it wasn't that they were giving a lump sum of science. It was that they were getting me closer to a great person, which is like, which was monumental. They don't have identity, and the happiness penalty. Like, the happiness penalty isn't a problem, but I think being forced to make a city unhappy through a growth event, which is meant to be a positive thing. Like, what am I meant to see from that? I guess overpopulation, but it doesn't really represent like overcrowding and overpopulation, because it's a specialist. I'm finding a home for a... Yeah, I don't know. They need to be balanced, clearly. They can't have no downside to them specialists. Otherwise, they're definitely not going to feel stronger, because I simultaneously think they are too weak and too punishing. But yeah, the like, you have to tank unhappiness as a positive growth event in your city. Happy day, and a new 100 million people have been born. Time for unhappy. Actually, that makes sense. So the last point before the big main one, I think it's a little obvious what's coming. Or at least the last point that I can think of, is just religion, and I guess pantheons to a lesser extent. They feel like a chore, and exist... Well, religion exists only for relic collection, and pantheon feels not like a chore because it doesn't feel like anything. It doesn't feel like something I massively remember in a game. It's such a small section of the game that I just barely feel like engaging with it. Religion doesn't last. Pantheons don't last. Pantheons don't even get put into religions. Religions don't carry on. it just... What's the point beyond relics for the religion? The founder belief is just gone when I'm trying to think about spreading religion. I'm only doing it for relics. It's the founder belief is maybe I picked something that synergizes with my with the reason and location that I'm spreading religions to, what I've chosen as my reliquary belief. And the enhancer belief is also achievable down the piety like tree, or theology. I can't remember what it's called. But the founder beliefs, I don't know. I have played almost 400 hours now, and I once have got a second founder belief through a narrative event, I think. I don't understand why there are 2 slots there for extra founder beliefs. Am I, like, maybe it's because I'm not engaging with the system that I'm not finding the extra founder beliefs, but, like, I've just never seen it. I think I did it, I did it the once. I've seen it the once, and that was only 1 extra founder belief, so I don't know what type of gameplay I have to optimize to get all of them, but, like, why would I care? If I'm already not caring enough to get that bonus, like, I'm only intrigued and annoyed because I'm like, how would you get there? How has that been achieved by other people? The fact that upon the next age, transitioning to the modern age, that religion is dead, because, like, what? Yeah, it ends in the 1700s. The clock, the calendar turned. We moved to the modern age whenever that was arbitrarily decided. But, like, even post when this game ends, even post modern era that doesn't exist in Civ 7, coincidentally has religion. Religion exists. Wow, So why is it just all dead? Why does religion not factor into the gameplay at all of the modern age? There's definitely interactions you could do there. I mean, maybe not in the artifact sense. I mean, I think that it shouldn't just be relics. I know, or maybe they changed this since the Victories changed, but I know you used to be able to spread a religion to distant lands, towns, and increases the points they were worth. Maybe they are still worth points, but distant lands, towns. I'll come around to that. That may be at the end of the video. The lack of interaction between religion and the other systems of the game, science, economic, and culture, the other victory. Science, economic, and military, is just weird. So I at least think that needs to be, like, addressed in the exploration age, where some religions could promote science and, I guess not codices in that age, but innovation points in some manner. If you spread to X number of towns, you get innovation, or you spread to X number of towns, you get domination. Like, that is a version of domination. Religious domination is still domination, although maybe it's just considered military victory now, not domination anymore. But then in the modern age especially, maybe they can't help with artifact generation, and relic generation is a thing of the past. I think relic generation should be expanded on, in that it's just relics and displaying them, and, like, that's not what all religions do. But beyond that, into the modern age, why can't religion influence war? I mean, it did, so why can't there be, again, innovation, ways of dominating with it, religious armies? Like, I don't know. It definitely should play some role. The fact that it just dies gets me to care about it even less. It just feels weaker and pointless, and a chore of a mini game that I have to play every time the exploration age comes around, which is just not, it's just not what I want. I think that was all the points on religion. Okay, this is quite short at the moment. I haven't rambled for too long, but here it is. I lost. Obviously, we started the video with that Hopefully you've seen the previous video of me losing, or, you know, hide my shame and don't watch it. That would be nice. Don't do that. Go and watch it. It's fun to watch me shout at a train. I just recently clipped that, and I just got so mad. I took it down the first thing I saw. Yeah, I lost again. And I hate that it comes down to that, because I clearly suck. Like, obviously, I'm doing something wrong, otherwise I'd be winning. It's not impossible to win. I haven't seen many other people who are reviewing the game struggle to win at it, so I suck. But I feel like I'm playing the game better than the AI in the games that I've been losing, in the way that I have been trained to by all of pre-Test of Time. I am playing the Distant Lands game. I am playing the Treasure game. I am playing the game like it has existed for about a year and a half. And now Test of Time has come in. Love the update. Love a lot of the things it's done. But the fact that it's annihilated kind of what was the only ways to win in the previous patch, in the previous version, just... I don't get it. Just because I think Test of Time is good, and it's done some great stuff to Victories, and despite losing 2 out of 3 games, even though the game that I won was on an easier difficulty, which really doesn't look good for me, I still like the update. I think it's great. I want to improve and get better at it and learn the ways to win, because clearly I am doing it wrong. So I just need more time with it, I guess. It clearly isn't worth... This was probably my biggest mistake and the reason I lost, besides when the city-state took my city. That was at least quickly resolved, but that was really bad, because I wasted so much money. But I wasted more money on the stupid war. It's clearly not worth to die on the hill of Distant Lands anymore, because it was... It definitely was to get those treasure fleets. The gameplay that I did this game, in terms of the colonization, was good shit. That was not bad gameplay for winning a game before Test of Time. The amount of treasure resources I was able to get out of that continent probably would have won me the age, given me the economic win of that age to take into the next one, and I could have won with factories, because my factories were out producing as well. I had more resources, and I hit that milestone earlier. But that just doesn't seem to be the way to play. I actually hadn't written in my notes about how the modern age economic win is completely different as well now. In the Great Banker doing the tour of the world, which was way more affordable before, but more to the point, it was so much easier if you focused on factories, because that was the only way to get him, which it still is in this game, but you can win without the Great Banker in post-update. Pre-update, the Banker was the only way to win, and it was way cheaper and amiable. It's just changed what the core of the game was, especially in economic. In the science and the culture side of things, I actually quite like it. I like what they've changed. I, especially culture, think the Victory is way more diverse. But even with science, even though it's not as in-depth as maybe the culture one is, with so many different ways to accumulate points, the science has not just codices now. It has innovations. It has projects. It's a lot more fun to get there. And despite that being the method I lost, I am not mad at the science victory at all. I'm not mad at the science victory. I'm mad at the things that I was doing that wasted time so that I didn't win the science victory, because I thought there were bigger priorities. I took almost half the exploration age fighting a war, losing territory, and then regaining it. Obviously, that's a particularly bad case. That doesn't happen every game. I think the location of the city was bad. It was really hard to defend, and the solution would have been to attack other places to draw troops. That's quite obvious in hindsight. but I was stubborn, and I kept putting units into the meat grinder. How much different and ahead could I have been if that city instead was a city on homelands? It would have been one less military victory point, and I would have lost out on some treasure. But with the money I spent on units that I was just throwing into a brick wall, I could have upgraded cities, I could have got gold buildings, I could have founded more cities, and I could have got resources. All things that I think would have got me more points towards the military and economic victory than settling in distant lands. Yeah, I just wasted so much time and money, and I should have done more naval attacks, and I should have done them sooner. But I did this all in the name of extra treasure resources. I just could have put that money elsewhere. I could have got all these points, the gold building, the trade resource, all that stuff. I could have got it in a way that seems at least equally rated, or actually higher rated, because it's per turn, not one burst like treasure is. It doesn't seem balanced. I think what they've done is great with Victories. I think the diversity of Victories is better. When I first started playing for economic victory, especially in the exploration age, I did find that one the hardest for a little while. And then I got the gameplay down. I got how important distant lands were. And now I'm having to change all of that. So I do like that there's more diversity to this victory. I did think it was a bit narrow, so if you didn't spawn on the east or west coast, you're at a disadvantage for that age. That victory is just going to be harder for you. Because distant land settling is going to be harder for you. And the distance it takes to get it back is going to be harder for you. But the numbers need a tweak, despite me thinking that it's more balanced, that it's more diverse, that it's more interesting. I think the numbers are wrong. I think it is unfairly weighted to what were the only victory conditions to now be the weaker ways to achieve that victory condition, in my opinion. Yeah, so I'm not mad at science and culture. I do think they're better. I think they're more interesting. I think they're easier to track. I am more mad from this loss about the time wasted doing unnecessary things that I thought were game-winning instead of beelining science or culture in another victory case. Because that's kind of what I did on the one game that I won. I was playing, I can't remember which of the Himikos it was, but it was one of the Himikos, the one that nerfs your science but gives you like a percentage culture or something. And I was so far ahead on culture that I won. I was so far ahead. There was no one that could catch me. No way. No one even close. Yes, it was one difficulty down, but it felt like way too much of a jump for these last two games up to the next difficulty. It's not like I'm playing deity or anything. And I very much felt in this game that Xerxes came out of absolutely nowhere. He was not a science leader at all in any of the game. I mean, he had a lot of science, so I should have taken that as a sign, but he just used raw science and production and got to rocketry and used that program to massively increase points. The 15-point increase, it's not worth researching the little text for 2 points. It didn't matter that he hadn't got those. Or any of the projects. He hadn't done any of the projects, I don't think. The Break the Sound Barrier, the Moon Satellite, I think. I can't remember all of them, but he hadn't done those, and he just did the rocketry one. And 15 points is such a milestone, so again, maybe little tweaks. But I think those victories have improved with this update. And I think economic has improved, I just think they need some tweaks. And even though I've left it for last, and It's not one that came into play this game, but I think the weirdest is definitely domination, and I think it is better. But again, they've massively nerfed what was good before, because distant land settling gives you 1 point extra. Is my 1 point for a city that I fought to retake for, like, probably 500 years, at least 50 turns, is that worth not just having 2 safe cities at home? That would be more points. It used to be so weighted that you didn't get any, and it was actually a complaint that I think I put on the on the feedback of the Civilization Discord, that in the exploration era, it's ridiculous that, like, literally murdering someone, unless you're Genghis Khan, or the Mongols, is it? I can't remember which one. It's one or the other, or maybe both. But, like, wiping out a civ and controlling all of the homelands gives you no military points. That doesn't make any sense. Well, it does, but it's not. Wait, no. No, it didn't, did it? It was just distant lands that gave points. Am I losing it? Or it was a significant amount of points. Anyway, it off the top of my head, I might be completely wrong, but it was weighted like a distant land city was settlement was 4, and then with religion that doubled. I can't remember what homelands gave, but if it did give anything, it was like 1. And now they flipped that. They flipped that for some reason. Not flipped it in that homeland cities gives you nothing, but like they give you 1 extra point. The distant land cities gives you 1 extra point. But like, what's the purpose? It doesn't make it worth it. I might as well push for conquest on homeland, or just found a bunch of stuff on homeland. I guess you can save settlement limit, but it would cost at 4 cities you'd have made up. Hang on, no, at 4 distant land cities you would have made up 1 extra settlement. Well, not cities, I mean settlements. In 4 distant land settlements, you would have made up 1 extra settlement with the bonus 1 point that you get. Is that worth it? Is 4 distant land cities that are harder to protect, that are further away, that you might be in a forever war because of border settling and pissing everyone off that you've settled on the continent of, which makes sense. I'm not saying that bit's bad. I think it should be just more weighted in points. Is that not just more ridiculous than making 5 settlements in the homelands? That's the point weighting. You get 1 extra at 5, at 4. Yeah, at 4 you get 1 extra. It doesn't feel like those economic and military victories have been treated well in the transition. They have been given depth but no logic, if that makes sense. It's just, yeah, it's not good stuff. I just think there's a lot of number tweaking that needs doing. It does feel like I'm whining. It does feel like I'm like, hey, I suck at this game, please make it easier. No, I don't want to make it easier. I want the AI to be fighting over distant lands again. They didn't in this game. They literally didn't. Confucius settled on my homeland, which was also his homeland. He just moved peninsula. And then the only people to do it was Charlemagne, who came across to me and I killed him. Now, unless on the other side of the world that I never explored, people were doing it, I couldn't see the military score that proved that, and I couldn't see the economic score that proved that. So, you know, I can only assume that they didn't settle distant lands, or didn't see it as a priority, whereas I was beelining over there. I took up the immediate space that I saw. Even though it was impossible to defend, stupid to defend, it used to be worth it to do that. It doesn't change the fact that I still would have lost city pre-update. I still would have been in a forever war. I still would have spent the money. Me being bad isn't to do with the update. I'm just bad. What the issue is that I should have economically won the age for my efforts because of the effort I put in with trade. That was what would have happened. I would have won the age. But yeah, that's just changed. Just because I think that Test of Time has improved Victories, it's not perfect, and that doesn't mean I hated everything before. I actually thought, even if I sucked at it at first, I thought that the treasure fleets were really cool. I thought that was one of the coolest ideas and new things coming to Civ. I was very excited about it. And I don't want them to kill that as a viable victory route, which it seems like it is. How is my burst every, I think it's 12 turns it was? How is that going to match up to someone who has a bunch of cities with gold buildings in getting per turn? It just can't. And if I miss that in the Antiquity Age, then I'm just going to be behind. I don't want trade routes to be only viable if you're Spain, because they have bonuses towards it, I think. Or is it Isabella? I can't remember. See, I don't know these leaders and civs well enough. But especially in the update that came just before... Not just before, it was at Christmas. The update that they did before Test of Time, which was the naval one, that added in all the piracy stuff and Edward Thatch and the Republic of Pirates. That gameplay is really cool. Why would playing them work if no one's doing treasure fleets? If I've taken the AI difficulty up and they're not doing treasure fleets, are they still not going to do treasure fleets at Deity? Is the Republic of Pirates someone who's stealing treasure just a bad person to play? Like, does it not work into AI where no one's doing treasure? Yeah, it used to be so egregious, the settling for treasure resources with the AI. Maybe I blocked it. Maybe there wasn't enough room. It did feel a little cramped, I will say, but maybe that's just the map I picked. That's the issue. But I was able to find treasure resources, so I would expect other people to. Just because I took Charlemagne off my peninsula, I didn't see anyone else go anywhere else. Maybe it's in that bit of fog, but again, I couldn't see the score change. Yeah, it all needs some tweaks. It's not a finished game. From what I've played with the new governments and happiness stuff, it's interesting. I feel like the governments matter more. And when a celebration happens, I remember what they do. Because that amount, those numbers are consistently in your face, but the passive bonus, what? You know, I thought it was cool when I picked it. What does it do? Don't remember. And the happiness doesn't seem to be as egregious, which is nice. I enjoy when my cities don't burn to the ground because I dropped into unhappiness on a turn that I can't reassign resources. That was always quite annoying, but it's nice that there's some opportunity to counterplay that, and there's levels to the happiness, especially on the positive side as well. I think it was in one of the Indian civs or leader that uses excess happiness. I can't remember in what age. Maybe it is the leader then. Uses excess happiness and turns it into resource, which I think is a really cool mechanic. The fact that everyone has a little bit of that now. I mean, I may have to give playing them another go because, well, I mean, they were quite strong anyway, I think. But maybe they'll be even stronger now with the happiness update. But yeah, having this super capital with crazy yields and the government policies also. I remember the government policies. It's just the passive one that goes out the window because you can see the rest in your face. You can see the celebrations, and I think the celebrations are really cool now. The one that gains you a relic is really interesting. yeah, it's just it's good signs. They're not. It's not like we're not having any word from the development team. We're going in the right direction, but I don't want them to say, test time, smashed it, victories, perfect, let's not address them again. They need number tweaks. Treasure resource, it's just not worth it. Factory resource and the Great Banker, barely worth it. Settling distant lands, barely worth it. Yeah, I don't know. And not Civ Switching, barely worth it, unfortunately. I think stick with the Civ Switching. I don't want to be underpowered and out of my Apex age by choice. Why would I do that? Why would I, you know, I get that it's the be-all and end-all for some people, but, like, I would be sacrificing strength for immersion. And I'll pick strength, thanks. I don't need to be that immersed in this game. Sometimes I do, but I quite enjoy it as a chill game, and I would rather win than feel good. Which is a stupid thing to say, because that's what it was like pre-update, to be honest, because I was winning with no resistance at all. But I'm not going to actively nerf myself either. I want the game to be harder, not than it is currently. I want it to be harder within reason. I feel like I've shot myself on the foot with this last bit now. But yeah, I really enjoy the depth of what they've done. I think Test of Time has been great at fleshing out this game and helping me enjoy it more. I just don't think they should abandon everything that came before Test of Time. Maybe that was the mentality when they changed the ability to Civ Switch. Maybe, you know, everything that came before was hit a bit. But I don't like that. There were some things about Civ 7 on. Whoa, Civ 7. Help. About Civ 7. That's dangerous to say. On launch that I really liked. There was stuff day one that I thought, this is cool. The military has never been a problem. The stuff they did with generals was really cool. I like treasure fleets. I think that was a great idea. I like the city layouts. I think it works well. That you build so much outwards. I get that districts in Civ 6 were cool and they had more identity. I do believe that. But building urban and rural districts, I really enjoy. I think that was a cool thing. I mean, maybe I should make a video on positives from Civ 7. Whoa, nearly said it again. I'm brain rotted. Yeah, we're not done yet. We're not done. The game is still not at the state where I would say everyone should buy this is the best. I mean, the price tag doesn't help. But it's not at this point where I'm like, okay, let's think about adding back loyalty as a system. I'm not sure how it would work because of colonization, so maybe it's a bad idea, but like, let's add loyalty or climate change, disasters, bonus game modes, apocalypse and zombies. I don't want them to add yet. They're not done, you know? But yeah, I guess that's enough of my ramblings for today. We'll leave it there. And if you've watched all the way through, or skipped to the end, there is going to be a little surprise, Civ 7 related, that's in the works currently after this one. Maybe I'll even edit it today. But yeah, stay tuned to catch that, and I will see you in the next one, wherever we go with it.